Hello everybody, it's Tim here once again. It's a view from the South Stands, and I'm coming to you on Sunday, the day after Toronto FC's 1-0 victory yesterday in Washington DC against DC United. The question that I want to pose to you, the viewer, today is about pressure. And my question to you is the pressure off right now for Toronto FC, at least over the short term? My answer to that is both a resounding yes and a resounding no. I want to get to the yes part after I talk about the game and put what I think is the most important sort of narrative to come out of the early part of the season for Toronto FC into some sort of context, and then we'll get into the flip side of where I'm coming from as well. I think at this point, no matter what happens in the next couple of games, it's fair to say that I think this road trip has been successful. The narrative about Bill Manning and TFC, wanting 8 points, getting 8 points, which the Reds now obviously have with 2 wins, 2 draws, and, well, sadly 2 defeats, but they've got 8 points in the bag right now. They have the points in hand that they had wanted, I think, as an internal target coming into the homestand starting in May. So I don't think that it's unfair to call the road trip, even though it's not complete so far, a success, and that's where the pressure comes in. I think in a way, getting those points in the bag kind of takes the pressure off a little bit for the next couple of games, and I'll get into that a little bit later on. But let's just take a look at the metrics, folks. We've got 5 goals conceded in 6 games. That's 6 road games for Toronto FC. And no matter how you slice that pie, those are unprecedented metrics for the defensive performance that this team has put in now their 10th season of play. We've never had a team that's done as well as this consistently on the road, on the defensive side of the ball, than the team that we have right now. And the metric that jumps out, looking at the MLS standings right now, some teams have played 6 games, some have played 7 so far. So we're getting into the 15-20% of the season in the bag right now. So we're starting to see some patterns develop, I think it's pretty fair to say. Toronto FC finds itself tied in goals against. And what's unprecedented about that is the other 3 teams that they're tied with, the Los Angeles Galaxy, who's played 3 home games, the Colorado Rapids, who've played 3 home games, and Sporting Kansas City, who've played 4 home games. Toronto FC has played 0 home games. So you've got a team that's tied for the league lead in goals against without once setting foot on their home field after 6 games. That is unprecedented performance, and that really augurs well for the rest of the campaign in 2016. The goals against, on average, if you take an aggregate of 2016 and an aggregate of 2015, it's been cut more than half, by more than half. 1.7 goals against was the goals against numbers for MLS games last year for Toronto FC, and right now it's a 0.83, so that's more than a 50% decrease. Those numbers are absolutely staggering to me, and if the Reds can continue to keep south of a goal a game, we're looking at a team that's going to give a lot of people fits going into the season, and hopefully going on a long run into the playoffs. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is the fact that in 6 games now, other than maybe the first 30 minutes of the last game prior to the DC game, the last game in Boston against New England, that was the only time that I've seen TFC have a poor performance on the defensive side of the ball. Clint Irwin, he saved our bacon yesterday. He saved our bacon in New England as well. My man of the match again. I thought Beitashour had a fabulous game yesterday. I thought Will Johnson was an absolute beast, both offensively and defensively as well. So we're looking, at some of the broad metrics, but just take a look at how significant the metrics were for the game yesterday. Possession was about 55-45 for DC, but duels won. 64 for TFC, 44 for DC United. Tackles, 18 won by TFC, only 10 won by DC United. Clearances, 33 clearances by the defensive group for Toronto FC yesterday versus 10 clearances for DC United. So we get the goal early. Seba does his business. The Reds set up defensively. They control the midfield. They keep the danger players for DC United well out of the way. Anytime that danger erupts, Beitashour, Moore, and Irwin in particular do a great job of shutting it down. Will Johnson snuffed out virtually everything that DC was trying to do offensively from the midfield. There was very little connecting tissue, so to speak, between the DC midfield and their attacking players yesterday, and a lot of that comes down to the unsung hero so far of the season, Mr. Will Johnson. So the pressure is off on this road trip, but the pressure is never really off, and I think the pressure is on, not on a macro level, but on a micro level for the game coming up this weekend in Montreal. Sadly, I won't be able to attend the game, but I know hundreds of people that are taking a trip down the 401. So first off, before I say anything about the next game, I want to wish my traveling brotherhood and sisterhood, bon chance, safe journey, safe return, and try to bring back some points if at all possible. But the pressure, to me, is squarely on Greg Vanney this coming weekend in Montreal. The 8 points are in the bag, and that's the internal metric that the team, I think, and a lot of the fan base has been sort of going with. What Bill Manning said early in the season. I know he came out in the press yesterday and said, maybe not, but I think that's a fairly sensible term to go with, is that 8 points. So the 8 points are in the bag, and now we've got Portland away in 2 weeks, and we've got Montreal this coming weekend. Montreal is the top team in the East so far. They've scored 10, they've conceded 6. They've done a lot of their winning so far this season without Didier Drogba. Ignacio Piatti's probably been, for my pick, I think he's been the player of the league, the MVP of the league so far. The goal that he scored late in injury time against Chicago was sick. It was an off-the-chain goal that secured Montreal 3 points late on the weekend. So it's going to be very challenging to go and get points against the top team in the East, and it's going to be very challenging for Greg Vanney to exercise those demons, and this is where the pressure, I think, is still on. Mauro Biello made Greg Vanney look like a child, a man versus a child battle, whether it be the last game that we played in the regular season against the Impact, or whether it be the playoff game. Biello's team out-hustled, outworked, and most importantly, I think, out-coached Toronto FC significantly. If you remember through those games, Vanney's game plan in the first game didn't work. And what did he do in the second game? He did exactly the same damn thing. And the Reds' first playoff game ended in an ignominious defeat. So what I'm looking to see this weekend is I'm looking to see a Toronto FC team hopefully playing with the pressure off, and I'm hopefully seeing a manager making some more, grown-up tactical decisions in those games against the game against the Impact versus the last two outings. As I've said in this space a few times this season, one of the things I've been pleasantly surprised about to date has been sort of the tactical maturing, maybe, that you can say, of Greg Vanney. Whether that's a product of the team, whether that's a product of the road trip, whether that's a product of what he's trying to do. I've seen some different looks. I've seen some different setups, and let's give credit where credit is due. They've had success so far. 8 points, 6 in is road games is a fabulous run of play for Toronto FC, and frankly for any team in Major League Soccer that would have to face such an extended road trip. So what I'm looking to see, obviously, is effort, heart, determination, grit. What I'm looking to see as well is if things aren't working, or at the get-go, that Mr. Vanney finds a way tactically to prove to some of the naysayers, and I'm still pretty much a naysayer when it comes to Greg Vanney. The jury, I think, is still out on him, and I think that's the biggest question that this team has in 2016 is Greg Vanney the coach to get this team to where they should be based on the quality that they have on paper. So let's see what happens in the game in Montreal. I want to thank you very much for watching. Have a lovely week. Come on, you Reds. And let's see what happens next weekend in Stade Saputo. Thanks for watching. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon. Cheers.